everyone. I'm Jay Cormier from Off the Page Games, and welcome to How to Start a Board Game Company. Now, recently I've heard of this thing called the Indie Game Alliance, and I'm almost a bit embarrassed I haven't heard about it much before, because it's pretty prevalent out there. And I heard about it from another publisher saying, are you part of this? Why aren't you part of this? You should be part of this. And I'm like, well, what is it? I don't get it. And so I found the person who started the thing, and then I interviewed the person. It's Matt. Matt is joined us for a video interview, and I'm going to kind of cut to that next and show you everything I learned. And so I literally knew nothing about IGA, and asked him a ton of questions, and got to the bottom of what is it, and should I be a part of it? And as you can see, the answer is, oh, definitely yes. So check this out. Okay, so Matt, you work for IGA Indie Game Alliance. So literally, I got to tell you, I don't know a ton about Indie Game Alliance. So this is going to be a very informational call for me, and I hope my viewers that watch this. So first of all, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then let's get into IGA in a minute. So who are you, and what do you do? What do we have you done?
Sure. So my name is Matt Holden. I hold a degree in game design, but it's actually video game design. And got involved with running demos for Steve Jackson Games when I got out of college, and did that for a while, and then decided that I wanted to maybe try some things that were a little different, and ended up latching on with Brotherwise Games, the folks that do Boss Monster, and I basically said, I'd love to run a demo program for you guys, and they said, well, that's great, except we don't have any games to give people other than another copy of Boss Monster, because at the time that's the only game they made. And I said, well, what if we had like 2 or 3 companies that got together and shared a demo team? They thought that was a good idea. They said if we could get to 5 companies, we thought it'd be successful. And now we're at just under 1,300.
1,300 companies or games?
1,300 companies.
Whoa! Wow. Okay, so so that's kind of the genesis of how that started.
Yep.
So what does IGA do for a company, a publisher?
So
and they're all board game publishers?
Board games, card games. We got a couple of collectible card games,
Right.
some role-playing games.
Gotcha.
A couple people that do board game accessories. Like we have 2 different companies that actually make board game tables, part of the alliance. Any indie company that's contributing to the tabletop space, we're interested in working with.
So first of all, let's define indie. What do you mean by indie? So just will you accept the biggest companies, or they're just not as interested in working with you, or what's the?
It's funny. We actually had quite a debate on this the other day on our Discord server. Basically, it's kind of a gut feel. We look at it, and if it's something that's owned by some megalocorp, if they're on the stock market, that's too big. If they're owned by Asmodee, they're too big. If that kind of stuff. If there's levels, and
Okay.
sometimes we've taken a couple of companies that might be a little bigger than we ever thought we would take, because they still have an indie approach to the way they do business.
I see.
And so we just look at, like, for example, Ravensburger just signed up with us 2 days ago, and
Wow.
we view them as a really, really big indie, because their tabletop division is still only a handful of people, and they at least the ones that I've interacted with, there's only like 3, and they still kind of have that mentality, from everything that I've spoken with them. And then there are other companies like Cool Mini or Not, we'll probably never work with.
Right. I see.
Stuff like that.
Okay. And does IGA have like a vision or I don't know, mission statement or a goal or something of what they're trying to accomplish?
So we're a guild, and it took us a long time to settle on the word guild. We were a cooperative for a while. We were a consortium. We were all these different words. But when we thought about it, this is a whole bunch of professionals that are working a trade, that are looking for a central place to share ideas and get a little bit of help and a little bit of leg up in what they're doing. And a guild really kind of fits that. And that's basically what we do. So, we provide anything and everything we can think of that will make the process of publishing games just a little bit simpler. Um, so, some of this, and we can get into greater detail as we go on if you like, but like
Oh, I like.
we have an international demo team of over 900 volunteers. We're
Wow.
active on every continent except Antarctica. Um,
Oh,
you
that's
know,
a
and
then
and
that,
that's
that
because,
continent's growing in board game
well,
love.
yeah, I mean, what else is there to do? Ice Cool, really big there.
Yeah.
Um, but we have that's what started us was the demo team. Over time, we added a freelancer network where folks can
Okay,
hook up.
let's take this one at a time because this is a
Sure.
lot like stuff's going through my head here. So let's talk about just the demo team for a second. So what do you mean that you have 900 demo? Like, what does that mean? How does a publisher use this? Or
So the way it works, let's say you're one of our volunteers. We call our people minions. So I see you've got a copy of Belfort on your shelf there. Can't
I
imagine how that
do.
happened.
Weird.
So because Tasty Minstrel is a member of IGA, you as a minion could go out right now and demo Belfort at any store you wanted to. Looking at your shelf behind you, I also see let's see, I see a Ravensburger game up there. You could do that. I see what else we got up there. There's some IDW stuff. You could demo that.
And are these volunteers? Are these people getting paid, or how? What?
So the way it works, if you're one of our volunteers,
Okay.
let's say you go out and you demo Belfort tonight. You go to Joe's Games in Atlanta and you run it for an hour.
All right.
I don't know if you can get Belfort done in an hour, but we'll say you can because you know it pretty well. Um, so you get through the game and you pull out your phone and you fill out a form on your phone that takes about 30 seconds. And you say, I played Belfort for an hour at Joe's Games. I played it with four people. I didn't play with any expansions. Of the four people that played, two of them liked the game so much that they went ahead and bought one from the retailer because the retailer does have them in stock here. And here's a photo of everybody having a good time at the game. And as soon as you hit submit on that report, two things happen. Number one, Mike Mendez at Tasty Minstrel gets an email with all that information, so he knows his game's getting demoed. And
Hmm.
number two, for every 15 minutes of gameplay you ran, you would earn one what we call a loot point.
Oh,
So
this is interesting.
so now, flash forward to now it's the end of the month. You've earned up, let's say, 50 loot points. So at the end of the month, you log into IGA's website and you say, I've got all these loot points. And you go to our web store and say, what's available? And we just got in Call to Adventure from Brotherwise Games. So you say, I want to try that out. And it's got, I think it's a $35 MSRP. So for every $1 of MSRP, you use one loot point. And so
Oh,
you spend those 35 loot points on Call to Adventure, and then I ship it to you out of our warehouse. That game is now yours forever. That's your reward for having done that time. And every game you get is also eligible to be demoed in the IGA network.
of course.
So over time, you build up a greater library of games that you can take to various conventions, game stores, whatever else like that, grow your collection. To
Wow.
give you an idea, we shipped out with our shipments for at the start of October. In one day, we shipped out almost $17,000 worth of board games to our volunteers.
Uh, Based on loot payments.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So let's see. I'll put you on the spot, see if you have some numbers, even top of your head or estimates or whatever like that. So you said you have around 900 volunteers. Are those active volunteers or just?
I'd say probably about 300 or 400 of them demo at least once a month, and then
That
there's
was
others that are signed up that either have left the industry for once in a while because
right,
they
right.
they've had a health thing or something. There's also some that are signed up because like they only get to do like one convention a year, but they still do that one and they do a great job. But I would say we see probably the same 300 or 400 names every 2 or 3 months as far as orders come in.
Wow. And
You know,
what is the average number of demos you think are done in a month by all the volunteers total together?
I actually had occasion. Somebody asked me that this morning,
Nice.
so I had occasion to run it,
Oh,
and
funny.
so far, and it's the first time I've ever run it. So I've been
Okay.
asked for it twice in a day. So far in October, today's the 25th. We've done 340 demos this month,
And that is potentially all over the world except for Antarctica.
except for Antarctica.
Okay. Sorry, guys, up there, if you're listening.
Curses.
Yeah, if you're starting a board game publishing company in Antarctica, this is not for you. Or try to find some people up there to
No,
be
actually,
minions.
if you're, I've got an open post on Reddit saying if you start a board game company in Antarctica, I will give you a 3 year of service just so I can say that I serve Antarctica now too.
That is awesome. Okay, so that part's super, super cool. And does that doesn't just mean at a game store? Like they could be at a convention and still, if that's wherever they're at and they demo it,
They
boom.
can be. We do between our whole team, we do an average of about 80 to 90 conventions a year. Um,
What does that mean? That you actually have a booth there, or
we have booths at some of them. Every year, we try to add a couple of small conventions and at least one major convention that we have a booth at. But we're always at Gen Con. We're always at Origins. We're always at. We've been at Dice Tower the last couple of years. We have
oh,
a demo team that goes to like San Diego Comic Con and all of the Strategicon shows, the PAX shows. We usually have a couple of
wow.
volunteers at.
You weren't at Shucks, were you?
I was not. I think we
Okay,
had
I
a
was
couple
just.
of volunteers there, but I
Oh,
personally
okay.
didn't make it. It's been a rough summer for us, so
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I've not done as many cons as I might otherwise have done
And
this year.
so, how does this is aside from for but might be good in this video? How do people sign up to become a minion?
The same way you'd sign up to be a designer or a freelancer or anything else. You just go to our website. There's a join now button in the upper right hand corner. Click that. It'll ask you what things you do in the industry, and you might turn on. So, for example, you might say, I do design. I'm also starting to get into publishing. Maybe you also check that you're a reviewer if you want to start doing that on your channel or whatever else. You can pick all the different options that you have, and it'll ask you some questions about each of those things and create all your various profiles.
And then you said it's an app that you have, a IGA app that allows them.
It's a mobile friendly web page.
Gotcha, gotcha,
I,
gotcha.
I want to do an app. I just haven't got around to it yet.
Yeah, yeah. Just add it to the list of things to do. Um,
You have no idea.
so
Santa looks at my list and goes, "Damn."
yeah, I don't have time to check this one twice.
Yeah.
And so and I guess this is website. It'll literally be up to the minute. It'll have every single game that you guys represent
Yep.
in there.
Well, it's as far as games we represent, it's updated once every 6 hours
Yeah, great.
because it
Well,
actually has to go query Board Game Geek and pull
sure.
all that data down. And
That's cool. Okay, so that's one thing that you offer that just anybody's part of IGA would randomly get these emails saying somebody just demoed your game. And you're like, oh, cool. Is that accumulated once per month, or every single time somebody demos it, you get an email?
real time.
Okay, cool. Okay, cool. That's already really cool. Must be very happy and satisfying for people that are part of IGA just to randomly get these like, oh, cool, people are playing my game and
We
somebody bought it or whatever.
When Fireside Games joined, they commented to me that they had their first demo report within 7 minutes of when they signed up.
Wow, that's great. That's weird. That's great. That's great. So now moving on to the. Oh, thank you,
Sorry.
Kat. Thank you, Kat. So that was the first thing. Now let's move on to that's one aspect of it. What was you were? I cut you off because I wanted to find out more about that. What's the next aspect
So
of?
kind of the second half of our demo program is the convention side that we do. So we do get booths at some of the major shows and some small ones too, and we will sell for you at any show where you don't have a booth of your own. So
Really?
yeah, so if for example you're on your first or second game, especially, and this happens every year where somebody will do a Kickstarter and they expect that Kickstarter to deliver in July or so, and they say, well, I want to get a booth at Gen Con to be able to sell my game. Well, if your game's delayed by a week, you're sitting in a booth at Gen Con for 4 days with nothing to sell.
Yeah.
And that's a huge risk for you.
Huge. Yeah.
And by the time you get a booth, you staff it, you get a hotel, you travel, everything, you can be
Woo!
looking at 9-10 grand for a booth at Gen Con, and that would just all be straight loss. And we find that even when you have like one or two games, it's often tough to break even, especially like the second year, because you go back with the same game and everybody that went for the Cult of the New bought it last year, and you're kind of struggling. So you still want to be able to move that game. And so what we tell a lot of our members is come to Gen Con, buy a ticket, come to the show, and just go have fun at the show, do your networking, do whatever else you do, and also run, a handful of demos in the event hall, which is free. And we give you a bunch of cards that have our booth number and our logo on it. And if anybody's interested in your game, just hand them one of those cards. They come to our booth and pick it up, and we split the money with you. We handle all the logistics of like how do you pay sales tax in Indiana and also Ohio for shows and
Origins,
all,
yeah.
all of that yuck that nobody wants to do. Um, Also, if you can't make it to the show at all, so like we have members that are based in like South Korea, and they're not coming for Gen Con.
Right.
So they'll send us games, and we'll have one of our volunteers go demo it for them, and then send people into the booth to do that, so on
Wow.
and so forth.
And so that obviously there's an extra cost for that.
Yeah, but it's very manageable. Like most of our demos at cons are like I think they're something like $30.
Wow. But the regardless of the demos, even just the selling of the stuff at Gen Con is an extra cost as well. Like you take a portion of it or something.
We take a portion, but there's no cost to like have your game be
Oh,
on.
I see. But how do you like? Doesn't everybody want to take advantage of this? Like 1,300 companies. How do you even have a big enough booth to stock all these games?
Well, fortunately, somewhat fortunately, somewhat unfortunately, uh, we very rarely have stock from a lot of our members.
Oh, I see.
Because you got to remember, of the 1,200 members we have, a lot of them are like still working on their first game and they don't have anything for us to sell yet.
I see.
A lot of them a lot of them are in the opposite situation. So, like, let's say Tasty Minstrel.
They
We
always have a
almost,
booth already,
yeah.
anyways.
And anytime that they're at a show, anytime that a publisher is at a show, we will not carry their game in our booth because we don't want to sell against them.
Obviously.
Um, so that knocks a lot of our stock out right from the beginning.
That's awesome.
Um,
That's a really cool service. Is it something you could say in this video about what kind of percentage cut you take, or is it change, or is
it's
it?
50-50.
Oh, I see. 50/50. Okay. That's cool. So the company would just have to pay to get it there, I
They
imagine.
don't even have to do that. So what'll normally happen? Let's use Brotherwise as an example again. So Brotherwise at Gen Con, when the show was over, they gave us several cartons of games that they had left over that didn't sell. We brought them home so that because we drive to every show we do.
Wow.
So yeah, it's a hike from
What do you?
Florida. Uh,
Would you drive like a pallet truck or something?
no, it's I have a SUV and we tow a U-Haul.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
So they gave us these cases, and so they got them to us for free. Once we get them, they sit in our warehouse because we can use them to give to our demo volunteers, like we talked about earlier. But every publisher for every SKU can go in on our website and select any of, I think it's 12 different permissions of what we may and may not do with that SKU. One of
Ah,
them is we're allowed to sell them at conventions. One of them is we're allowed to sell them into distribution because we can guarantee our members that they're in distribution. All these cool little things like this. And
yeah,
so
we'll get into that one. That's a big one coming up.
so every time we go to a show, basically I run a database query that says who is exhibiting at the show, take their games out. Everybody that's left, who gave us permission to sell at shows. Now we're down to this many SKUs, and that's what goes on the truck. So we
Wow.
bring it there, we bring it back. So as long as we've got it in the warehouse, and we have permission to sell it,
Right.
it will go.
But otherwise, if we're not part of you yet and we haven't kind of met up, obviously I'd have to get the game to you or to the convention some way. That's on
I mean,
me.
we have had situations where somebody signed up. They didn't have a booth at the show. They signed up at the show. They had 3 cases of their games in their car. They went and got them, brought them in, and we were selling them out of our booth 20 minutes later.
That's
We
great.
would prefer you not do that.
Yeah, yeah,
My wife Victoria handles the merchandising in our booth, and she
right.
might throttle you if you do
Yeah,
that,
of
but we
course.
will do it.
So now, aside from being in a convention for IGA, and it's kind of like a marketing opportunity for you to get your brand and your name out there and what you do, and trying to recruit more publishers and minions and all this kind of stuff. Is it actually profitable just from selling games? Like, do you actually break even? Or I don't know if you
Depends
have
on the
to.
show.
Depends on the show, but at the very least, the investment into the marketing aspect of it is always good to keep your name out there. That's kind of cool. Okay, let's keep
And
going.
keep our members' names out there too, because
Yeah, yeah, you're
succeed
working for
unless
them.
they do. So
Yeah, so neat. What a neat. This is yeah, this is definitely getting more and more interesting. So, That's the whole demo and con presence aspect of IGA. Let's now move on to I don't know. You tell me what manufacturing. What do you want to move on
Yeah.
to?
So one of the next really good things we do is I used to work for a company where I did a lot of marketing. And when I did this, we marketed to basically every major franchise system in the country. And we discovered the idea of a buying co-op. There was this company that it was a bunch of indie bike stores that partnered together to get better deals when they bought bikes from the factory.
Hmm.
That concept stuck with me. And as IGA continued to grow and we got more and more members, I started thinking, what if IGA could act as a buying co-op? Because if you look at a game like say Munchkin, so Steve Jackson Games can print probably 30 or 40,000 copies of that at a run. I don't know how many it is, but it's a bunch. And so you, as a first-time Kickstarter creator, could put the same 168 cards in a die in a box, but your MSRP would probably be like $8 higher because you're printing a lower volume.
Right.
So what we did is we went to as many of the manufacturers as would take our calls and basically said, while Jay might only be printing 1,000 copies, IGA is going to print 200,000 games this year.
Hmm.
And so we convinced a lot of the manufacturers, the shipping providers, the logistics providers, Board Game Geek, all of these people that basically everybody you could possibly want to spend money with when you do a Kickstarter, and convince them to give our members a discount to help bring your prices in line with the ones that larger companies would pay, so that your
Whoa.
game can compete on an MSRP basis with some of the bigger boys. And a lot of times, like we had one guy the Michael Knight that did Venom Assault.
Mm-hmm.
His campaign went up, it failed. He joined IGA. Just from the member discount, he was able to lower his goal by almost $5,000. And that
Excellent.
resulted him funding the second time around.
Oh wow.
And that little, 5-10% margin on every single thing you spend, it adds up.
And
And a
so
lot of
that's amazing. This is so amazing. So I imagine I can go to your website and would it then like list the partners, the what like
it,
the so
it's
let's start with manufacturers. So you'd have a list of manufacturers all China based, I imagined.
most. I think we have one US based and one Canada based right
Oh,
now. And
cool.
I'm talking with some folks in Europe too.
Yeah, try to get around these tariffs, right?
Actually, I do have a couple of things in the works for the tariff situation. I'm not ready to talk about them just yet, but
Teaser.
yeah, there's an iron in the fire there.
If you want to find out more, join up with IGA. Um, that's cool. So that's manufacturers. So there's some sort of discount. I imagine is like a percentage or something like that, and it differs from.
It's different. For some of them are percentages, some of them are flat dollars off,
Gotcha.
some of them are like you get this extra free thing. Uh,
Okay. Okay. Cool. That's exciting. So I'm gonna research that and check out all the different manufacturers. See if you have the manufacturers I've been contacting. And then so
well,
then you
and if not, you probably want to be looking at contacting some of the manufacturers that we work with.
right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it's indiegamealliance.com/partners.
That's great. That's great. So, but then in addition to manufacturers, what are some of the other partners that you mentioned some other ones? Let's review a few of the other ones.
So we have some folks that do like that charge for reviews and other services like that that'll give you a discount. We
Oh,
have
okay,
some
cool.
graphic designers that'll give you a discount.
Oh, wow.
People that do like translations of rule books into other languages.
What about even rules editors?
There are some rules editors. We also have separately we have a freelancer board where you can go and do like a job posting basically to find
Really
somebody. So
fascinating.
so
And,
that's all on our website.
wow.
But we're partnered with Board Game Geek. So if you were to advertise your game on BGG, basically however many clicks you pay for, you get 105% of that. So you get, for every 100 clicks, you get 5 free. Um,
Gotcha.
so we got that. We're partnered with people that do like pop-up banners and trade show displays if you
Ah,
need
I just bought
something for a
mine.
booth. We're partnered with OTX Logistics, who are the folks that actually like get your game on a ship and get it here from China.
Cool.
We work with people like Games Quest that actually do fulfillment of campaigns. Um, we work with folks that do like hardcover book printing. If you're an RPG writer and you want to make like a really nice like player's handbook or something, we work with that. We also have discounts on like some software that you would use for like laying out cards and things like this. We have a partnership with Print and Play Games where they'll take 10% off all of your prototyping.
That's hilarious. I think that might be in a very soon upcoming episode I'm going to do for this series of of going through the Print Plays website to try to create my first sample for the reviewers. So now
You do use the IGA discount code and
I
you'll save
will.
10%.
I think I'm signing up to IGA after this call.
I told you you would.
um, okay, so we have the minions that do the reviews. We have the con presence with potentially selling of games and demoing of games at cons. Now we have discounts in all facets of the board game publishing world. Dare I ask if there's any more benefits of participating with IGA?
I'm through about 30%.
Of the benefits of being with IGA?
Yeah.
Continue on, my friend.
So we also have a playtesting service.
Oh,
Uh, so you can send us prototypes, and our minions have a rubric that they have to follow, and there's a certain number of playtests they have to complete. You can generate on our website a custom feedback survey that all the players can fill out on a mobile device, which also collects their email address, which can be handy for other things as you're getting ready for a Kickstarter.
and I imagine they just the designers or publishers would just upload PDF print and plays or whatever.
We don't do print and plays because that's an awful lot of, when I
Hmm.
described the process of how our minions get rewarded. They get rewarded for time playing, and I don't want to ask them to spend 3 hours putting
That's why I
together a
was
print and play for no
sure.
compensation. So
So
and
how
we
do,
want
so
to
what
make
is
sure that it's put together correctly, and we're not like play testing and giving incorrect feedback because we've messed up making the game somehow.
but
So
so then how would they play test? It would be based on a sample or
yeah,
like
they would the designer sends us a handful of like Game Crafter or Print and Play prototypes, and they
right.
don't have to be super fancy full art. I mean, we've had people send us literally baggies of index cards,
Gotcha.
but they have to present something to us that they've said this is what is supposed to be here, and we'll run demos of that, and we'll provide feedback. We have the player surveys, plus there's a final report that the minions will fill out that asks not just about the game itself, but about like the table presence, about things.
Yeah,
The
nice.
minions get asked questions because they're not supposed to sit and be one of the players, so they're sitting back observing everything. So they answer questions like, how much time did people spend on their phones when it wasn't their turn?
Right, right, right.
Um,
Now, is you say minions, but this is because it's a sample. I imagine it's just local to where you're at.
oh,
How would you ship out a sample? Somebody signs up and says, "Yeah, I'd test that." A
that's
minion, any
exactly
minion,
that you
anywhere.
do.
Oh, wow. Well, and who pays for the shipping, for example, in that case?
I do.
Wow, it's wild. Even if you have to ship somebody in Europe wants to test it, you ship it to them.
Yeah,
Wow,
we don't do a lot
that's
of
pretty
that,
wild.
which works out well for my wallet. But
I
if
see.
if a volunteer in Europe wanted to play test, yeah, we'd send him games, or
Oh,
her.
that's okay. That's yeah, okay. This is more interesting than I initially thought. That's a cool service. Is that a growing service? Is that are people using it? Is it?
Yeah, we do. I'd say probably 4 or 5 games a month that we work through the process on.
I'm trying to figure out the timing of when I would do that because I wouldn't put money into a sample until it's like I'm a few months out from Kickstarter, and so
Uh,
then
I mean, in some ways that's good, and in some ways not so. I mean, the earlier you get feedback, the better.
oh
But
I know
again,
that, yeah.
we can work with a handmade prototype for a first draft.
Right.
Obviously we wouldn't want to do a review or something off of that, but for purposes of going out and seeing like, hey, do the rules work? You
I
know,
see. So
that blind play
I
testing
could
is
send you
very
my own prototype
sure.
that I made. Oh, I see. So it doesn't have to be like as good as a Game Craftery type
No, I
thing.
mean, obviously it has better table presence when it
Of
does,
course.
but you can
Hey,
do it.
you haven't seen some of my prototypes. No, I'm kidding. They're garbage.
That's
Um,
that's a challenge, I think.
oh yeah, no kidding. Okay, so that's cool. So that's now we're up to like 35% of what you guys do. What's
So let's see what else. I covered the survey stuff. I covered the place testing. Oh, we haven't gotten to distribution yet.
Oh yeah, that's a huge one. Yeah. So do
So
you guarantee it or you help?
we can absolutely guarantee it.
Wow. But what do you guarantee? What's the guarantee?
We guarantee that your games are available in distribution.
And that means what?
That means a retailer can log in and buy it.
Okay, that's the bottom line. There you go. Wow.
So the
How can you guarantee that?
so because we
Any
have
magic?
awesome partners,
Oh, I see.
there is a little magic involved too.
Okay.
But so basically, here's how this works. It's funny that you bring up the are you magic? Well, the real thing is any technology, if sufficiently advanced, is indistinguishable from magic.
It really is.
And I'm a software developer by trade, so I figure out ways to
Oh,
do smart things with computers. And what we did, we partnered with a couple of international distributors, and the big one in the US that we work with right now is Golden Distribution. And the way it works is really cool. If you look at the traditional distribution model, let's say your first game, you kickstart it, you've got 300 or 400 copies left after your Kickstarter's over, and you want to sell those to a distributor. Well, a distributor is going to be a little hesitant to buy those from you for a couple of reasons. One, they might not know who you are. I mean, you have an advantage in that you've published some other games with other people,
me
but
specifically. Yeah, yeah, sure.
but a lot of folks, their self-published game is the first one they ever made, and nobody knows them from Adam. Um, the second thing is they might want to buy more copies than you have to sell them. Three, they don't necessarily always want to pick up something that is off of a Kickstarter where they don't know. They might not want to sink money in advance because they don't know if you're going to just botch your Kickstarter.
And they
What
don't. I don't like they don't like setting up new partners if you're a one and doneer. They want somebody
exactly
who's got 2, 3 games under their belt or something like that.
I'm finding the number is closer to 5 or 6 these days, unless it's
Wow.
a mega hit. People like Letter Games got in on their second one because Vast was so successful.
Right.
You know, so what we do is a little bit different. Um, we basically talked to Golden and we said, well, you once you have the game sitting in your warehouse, because you've got to take that risk. You've got to say, I'm going to buy 500 copies or whatever, and they're going to sit in my warehouse, and they might sit there for months. They might not move. We don't know. They might, and it could be anything else. There could be some sort of horrible public relations problem with it. The designer could be some sort of, whatever.
Whatever. Yeah.
So they're very hesitant to take risks on unknown quantities. But at the end of the day, once they've bought games and those games are sitting in their warehouse, what do they really do? They list the game up on their website, and then if a retailer shows interest in the game, they buy it and they say, I want 4 copies, and the distributor ships it to them, right?
Hmm.
So I said, well, what if we did this? I give every day, our system sends Golden a updated file that is all of the stock in our warehouse that has the distribution permission. Their website lists the stock on their website as if it were in their warehouse.
Mm.
And then if a retailer buys it, they turn around and tell me, and I ship the game out. So by doing it that way, the distributor has no risk whatsoever. So they can afford to take all comers. They can afford to list every single game. It makes their SKU list go way up, and look at all this cool stuff that you can only get from us. And
Wow.
they don't have to take any risk. So even if you've only got 50 copies left, those copies are available in distribution. And it works out even better because working with most of the traditional distributors, if you're working with an ACD or an Alliance or somebody like that, your game is going to be listed up on their website that you can buy it. But it's going to be listed in a sea of a bazillion games. And the retailer is in this kind of the same boat. where they say, well, I've never heard of this game. Do I want to take a risk on it? Because while they're not buying 500 copies, they're working at a much lower, income stream. So buying 5 copies for them is just about as much of a risk percentage wise as a distributor buying 200.
Sure.
Lucky for us, we have an international demo team that goes in retail stores. So we will now have the capability to say, this volunteer is going to go into Joe's games, teach 4 people the game. Well, Joe might not have those games on his shelf, but if 2 people in the store say, I want to buy it, Joe says, I want to sell it to him, because we certainly don't want to tell those people to go to Amazon or whatever and take the money out of Joe's store after he was nice enough to host our demo. So now Joe can reliably go to Golden Distribution, buy these games, and make that sale, which it not only increases the throughput from distribution because you're actually creating interest that wasn't there and making those games stand out in the sea of games that are available. But the flip side is also true, because you're also, by connecting the sales piece to the demo piece, you're increasing the return on investment from the demo you did.
Yeah. This is all great. This is amazing. So, a few more questions to follow up on this one. So, regardless if I did Kickstarter or not, I just got a bunch of games. I contact you. I'm a partner. I'm an IGA member. Am I a member? What am I if I'm a publisher?
You're a member.
Member. And I say, hey, I got a bunch of games. How many can I send you?
So we limit based on square footage in the warehouse.
Yeah.
Right now, our warehouse is kind of small. We're hoping to expand it next year.
Cool.
So right now, we limit our members to 1 pallet bay's worth of space.
Gotcha.
So if you're selling me Gloomhaven, you're going to sell me. There's going to be a lot fewer games than if you're sending me a tuck box.
Yeah, that's like 8 Gloomhavens.
Yeah, or 8 billion of something else.
Yes.
And you don't have to send us that much. That's just kind of where you're capped.
The max. Yeah, okay, that's great to know.
Yeah. Most folks typically send us somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 copies at a time, and then they top us up as we need it.
Cool. And if you see something selling a lot, would you open the doors to them and like, hey, can you send us a couple of pallets, or it's still just?
I mean, there have been situations where we've done that.
Yeah, sure.
Because that's a fantastic problem to have.
Yeah.
Yeah. If something's flying off the shelf, I'll make room for it.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so that's great. And so then you answered my second question already about if you have you live in Florida, right? You're based in Florida, so you must have a ginormous warehouse, but not ginormous enough apparently, because you're looking at moving and upgrading.
Yeah, it's not as ginormous as we would like, but
right.
we're getting there. But one other really cool thing about our warehousing situation is one of the folks that we really like to work with in this industry is Quartermaster Logistics.
Awesome.
They kick all the butt when it comes to fulfillment. And a lot of our members are choosing to have Quartermaster do their fulfillment and also to hold on to the bulk of their stock after.
Right.
Well, Quartermaster happens to be based in Orlando.
That's right.
It's about a 10-minute drive from our warehouse.
Wow.
So what a lot of our members have been doing is leaving their stock with QML, and then if they want to transfer stock to IGA so we can go to a Gen Con or something, rather than paying $200 to have it shipped to me, I just drive over there and get it. Because
that's awesome.
It's 15 minutes from here.
I got to stop this call just so I can go and sign up to IGA. I got to stop this video here. So I'm kidding. This is amazing. This is great. Okay, so any other points of a distribution we missed, or is that pretty much that sounds like?
Yeah, that's the big stuff with distribution, and distribution is a brand new service for us. We're literally getting it off the ground this month.
Oh wow! Oh, I didn't know that.
We announced it a while back, but it took a little while longer than we expected to dot the I's and cross the T's to get it to actually function the magic way we talked about.
Awesome.
But we expect that to be going live. Probably it'll be live before Thanksgiving.
Oh wow! So okay, this is huge. So maybe we'll do a check-in on you later on in the year, or maybe early next year, to see how it's been going.
Well, I'll tell you what. If you want to do a check-in with me in say January,
yeah,
we can talk about Project Pharos, which I can't talk about right now. Suffice to say that it will blow the doors off. If you're excited about what we do now, Pharos is bigger than everything else we do combined.
That's awesome. I just love the energy and the passion and the focus on helping these indie game publishers is amazing. It doesn't feel like there's much left that you can help an indie game publisher out, but there seems like there
But
is.
wait, there's more.
Oh,
Uh,
that's right here.
yes, yes, it's almost like I saw that. Um, Another thing we can do to help folks out is, one of the big challenges for people who have never published a game before, and even more so for people who haven't even sold a game to a publisher before, is they design this game and it's wonderful and it's fun and plays great, and then they're like, now what? There's a lot more. People often underestimate the learning curve that goes into all of the, well, how do I pay my taxes on duties from China, and how do I get a UPC code, and where do I put it, and all this other kind of stuff. So I offer all of our pro members free 90-minute consultation sessions where it's a lot like what you and I are doing here, where we'll sit down. You can ping any questions you want off me. We normally do one about 2 weeks before a Kickstarter. And I'll check all your numbers, make sure you're not screwing yourself on your numbers. I'll
Oh
give you
my
coaching.
gosh.
I'll give you coaching on your reward tiers and making sure that you're doing your rewards in a way that's palatable to retail backers, but that isn't gonna. Yeah, and I help you with like PR situations about like, well, what happens if the game lands and I want to sell it at Gen Con, and we can work through all those details. I can often come up with creative ways to help you maximize your stretch goal potentials while not pushing yourself off a cliff with them. A lot of cases, giving you your stretch goals for free by using various partners and stuff, making sure you're using the right partner for what you're doing to make sure you're getting the best, the most bang for can, helping with marketing strategies, so forth like that. And then once your campaign actually launches, we will share that on our social media, which is all automated. We also email it out to a newsletter of about 6,000 people every Wednesday. We do it on Wednesdays because most board game Kickstarters launch on a Tuesday, meaning that if you do an email on a Wednesday, you will land in the first and the last 48 hours of a campaign that goes for 30 days.
That's right.
So we do that. Um,
Now
so
is that just you, or do you have a team of people doing what you just said?
there are three folks that do that: me, myself, and I. Um, no,
You
it's
need more
that
people.
I really do. I could keep about 10 people busy, and I still have a day job.
Yeah.
So um,
No, come on.
yeah,
This is not your full-time gig?
no,
Matt, come on. Stop it. Start being profitable more so that it can
I'm trying.
sustain. Yes,
But
of
the
course.
flip side of that is, when
You don't want, yeah, yeah.
when you want to help the little guy, you can't
Yeah.
charge a ton of money because the little guy doesn't have a lot of money. So, you
Well,
know,
that's a good segue. You have more benefits from me. We can segue into how much does this cost for publishers?
so we have two tiers of service right now. Well, technically three. We have our IGA starter plan, which is what you get right out of the gate. Um, Most folks can afford that. It's $0 a month. Um,
Pretty affordable.
it's in most people's budget. Um, and with that, you get kind of the basics. You get everything that doesn't cost IGA money to provide. Um, so, once you have that, any volunteer who happens to have a copy of your game can go demo it.
Do the volunteers know what level the publishers are at?
Uh, some of them do. We don't provide that information to people like when they're just starting out, but our upper level volunteers know.
Okay. Is that because you maybe put more focus or effort or ask for more things to the pro members?
It's because I don't want our volunteers to care any less about the people who can't afford a subscription.
Okay.
Um, I don't
Now,
want that bias to be created.
okay, so you
Uh,
got the starter and then
then we have light.
hmm,
Light is for people who you have been up until this point, where you are a designer but you don't want to self-publish.
hmm.
Um, and what we do for light members is, we still offer the playtesting service, we still offer the discount on the prototypes and so forth. But then a lot of the distribution and stuff like that, the designer doesn't need that, the publisher does.
Mhm.
So the other thing we can do for designers is if you as a designer come to me and you say, here's this game that I have and I don't know what to do with it. We have a database we maintain of all of our member publishers and the kinds of games they're looking for at any given time. And so I have personally placed about 25 games with publishers because I'll call up a publisher and say, hey, I know you're looking for a game like this. Here's
Mm.
one that we've played that's solid. And because they know we see thousands of games a year, they know that it's gone through some sort of a quality filter and it's, it's ready and that it's going to be the right game for them, that it's not going to be, here's my 6 hour Euro that Belfort's a fantastic game. I wouldn't pitch it to Haba, you know, you know, just
Right.
not their style, um, that sort of thing. So, so we provide that service to help them out, and then of
Yeah.
course it helps. But
Yeah, go ahead.
so, and that also helps our publishers too because they're getting fantastic new games to add to their catalog.
And
Uh,
what's the cost for a light membership?
$10 a month.
$10 a month. Fantastic. And let's go like because you said it before. It's called a pro membership. What's that? What's that entail? That entails everything we talked about, I imagine.
Is the whole kit and caboodle, and that's $30 a month.
$30 a month.
So it's cheaper than a decent lunch.
Unless there's anything more, we talked about all the benefits and the costs, and that it seems like it's a pretty much a win-win-win scenario. It's a win for because you're it's a win for publisher because they get all these discounts. It's a part because they're working to them. Like it's a win-win-win scenario.
We try to make it where everybody involved in the community has as positive an experience as they can, and we try really hard to use IGA to bring people together. Our community is fantastic. When we first started this, a lot of people were like, I don't know how you're going to get companies that compete with each other to work together, but you know the analogy that I always use is these games are not cars. If you go buy a Toyota today, it's very unlikely you're going to go buy a Ford tomorrow because you address that need. But us gamers, we see a $30 game we like, we'll buy it, and if we see a $40 game we like tomorrow, we'll buy that too.
Yeah.
The only people who have to worry about it, as from the standpoint of that, is the folks who make shelves. Um, and believe me, IKEA and I are like this.
Yeah, I could see.
But this is just one wall. It's
Yeah, yeah.
I've had to move twice for the benefit of my board game collection.
Fair.
It's one of the upsides of having unlimited loot points because I run the company. Um, but so we try to very hard to make this a community that is inclusive, that everybody feels welcome, that nobody feels, and not just about the ways that people normally feel like they might be excluded. It's not just about making sure that we take care of, female designers and LGBT folks and all that, although we certainly do that. But it's also about it drives me crazy when you go into some communities, and like Reddit is notorious for this, where you walk in and you're a first timer and you ask a question and it's like the sky falls down on you and everybody makes you feel this big because you don't have the experience or whatever, and that's just a discouraging way to be. It's just I don't feel like any industry that wants to grow should be that way. And so for me, it's all about, let's embrace these new designers because that's what keeps you from not being stale. That's what keeps it from not being, here's 78 versions of Monopoly. It's why our industry is as innovative as it is, because we're starting to hear all these more voices from the democratization of
Right.
it through crowdfunding and so forth. And that is to our credit, and that needs to be, especially in an era where the running joke is that in 5 years half of the floor at Gen Con is going to be Asmodee and the other half is going to be IGA. um, so but in a world where Asmodee just like snatches you up all day every day,
Yeah.
you need somebody to stand up for the little guy. You need there
Yeah.
has to be somebody on the floor at Gen Con saying, I am the Lorax, I speak for the trees. And
Hmm.
you know what? I'll do it as long as I'm able.
That's awesome, Matt. It sounds like you and I are going to be good friends after this. You have great ideals, and your values are in check, and I love what you're doing, and I'm excited to partner with you going forward. So look forward to my sign up quite quickly after this call. And thank you so much for taking the time with us on this video today. And we'll talk to you very soon.
All right. Thanks a lot. Have a good night.
Yeah. So pretty amazing stuff. I was pretty flabbergasted. It's awesome. I'm definitely going to sign up. I'm trying to figure out the best time to sign up. Should I do it right now, or is there any of those benefits I need right now? I'm not sure. Maybe a little bit closer to my Kickstarter, I'll sign up, because I think that's when I'm going to start to need some of these discounts and whatnot. But super fantastic, super amazing. Thanks so much, Matt, for joining us for this call and the video. And thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions, post them below, and myself or Matt might be able to answer them for you. Cool. Thank you very much. Have a good day.